For most of our existence, humanity's story is one of slow, steady survival. According to mainstream science, it began over 5 million years ago when a species of ape first stood upright, marking the dawn of what would become the human race. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in basic societies, mastering fire, crafting primitive tools, and adapting to nature's harshest environments. And then seemingly overnight everything changed. Roughly 20,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened. Human progress took an enormous leap forward. In a geological blink, we went from living in caves to constructing temples like Gog and Tepe, and then, within just 12,000 years, 2 launching spacecraft into the stars. How can we explain such a staggering transformation? This puzzling shift has led some researchers to ask a controversial question: what if our evolution wasn't entirely natural? Enter the Anunnaki, a group of mysterious beings described in Sumerian texts as gods who descended from the sky. But were they really gods or something else entirely? Today, we explore the boldest theories, the strangest coincidences, and the most ancient of clues surrounding the Anunnaki. Who were they? What was their mission on Earth? And most importantly, did they change the course of human history forever? Let's start at the beginning with ancient Sumer, often called the cradle of civilization. Long before the pyramids rose in Egypt or Stonehenge marked the fields of Britain, the Sumerians were already building complex cities, establishing codified laws, and mastering the stars. They invented the first written language, cuneiform. They developed the wheel, irrigation systems, and even the sailboat. Their cities were massive and well-planned, governed by something remarkable for the ancient world: Yor-Namu, the first written legal code, and their knowledge of mathematics and astronomy. Breathtaking, they created the sexagesimal system, still used today to measure time and angles. They charted celestial bodies with precision we still can't fully explain. All of this, thousands of years before the Greeks or Romans. But here's where the story grows strange. Homo sapiens, our species, has existed for more than 300,000 years. So why did our ancestors remain in a technological stasis for nearly 290,000 of those years? Why did monumental change only begin in the last 7,000 years? Mainstream explanations often point to agriculture, climate shifts, or sheer coincidence. But a deeper dive into ancient Sumerian writings reveals a different possibility. According to these ancient clay tablets, the early humans spent millennia working the earth, not for survival but for something else: mining gold. Now this raises a massive question: why gold? To ancient humans, gold had no practical value. It was beautiful, yes, but useless for tools or hunting. Yet for some reason, they mined it with extraordinary effort, digging deep into the earth in massive operations. The Sumerians give us a clue. They tell of the Anunnaki beings who descended from the heavens in search of gold. These visitors were not just deities in the mythological sense. According to some interpretations, they were advanced beings from another world, a planet in crisis. Their world, the story goes, was dying. Its atmosphere was failing, and they discovered that gold, when dispersed in the air, could help stabilize their environment, purifying it. Much like we use advanced materials today in space and climate technologies. Gold, as we now know, is an incredible conductor. It resists corrosion. It's used in electronics, space travel, and even medicine. But the Sumerians knew none of this. Or did they? The tablets describe how the Anunnaki came to Earth and enslaved early humans to mine gold for them. These beings were viewed as gods flying through the sky, wielding unimaginable tools, and possessing knowledge far beyond anything humans had seen. That first, the Anunnaki brought their own workers, but eventually, according to the texts, these beings modified early humans, enhancing their intelligence to create a better labor force. Some theorists believe this marks a critical turning point in human evolution, a moment when our minds expanded, our abilities multiplied, and our destiny forever changed. And perhaps that explains the sudden burst of progress seen in the archaeological record, from stone tools to star maps, in the blink of an eye. But what happened to the Anunnaki? Did they leave? Did they finish their mission? Or do they still watch us? As strange as it may sound, tens of thousands of ancient tablets exist, many still untranslated. What secrets remain buried within them? Could the origins of civilization, the myths of gods, and even the roots of our technology stem from a forgotten chapter in Earth's history, a time when humanity was touched, guided, or perhaps altered? The truth is still hidden in the sands of time. But one thing is certain: the story of humanity is far more complex and far more mysterious than we've been told. Every gram of the precious metal mined was sent to their planet in an attempt to stabilize it. We understand from many different sources that there is an extra planet in the solar system that is massive and has a huge orbit, but we haven't found it yet. Some call it Planet 12, NASA refers to it as Planet 9, and others call it Planet X. To the Sumerians and Anunnaki, however, it was known as Nibiru. Astronomers today have observed orbital anomalies in the asteroid belt beyond the planet Neptune, which they suggest are influenced by a massive object orbiting a great distance from the Sun. However, Such an object has not yet been discovered, but there are definitely traces pointing towards it. According to the texts, it makes one orbit around the Sun in 3,600 Earth years. Nibiru is believed to be the contaminated world of the Anunnaki. At some point, they realized that if they sprayed nanoparticles of gold into the sky of their planet, it would reflect the sun's rays and absorb the harmful radiation. They set out across the solar system in search of gold. So they came to Earth, which was extremely rich in this valuable material, and decided to establish a colony. What did the Anunnaki look like? According to several plaques found, the Anunnaki were 3 to 4 meters tall with elongated skulls and lugger heads. Just a quick note, many ancient cultures around the world elongated their skulls to resemble those of the gods. The Anunnaki did resemble humans visually, but were often depicted with very rich robes. Their skin was fair-colored, and so were their eyes. They called themselves the Anunnaki after their Anu king. He sent his 2 sons, Enki and Enlil, to Earth to guide the gold mining. Once the Anunnaki's colony on Earth was fully operational and their gold mining efforts began to stabilize their planet's atmosphere, they faced an inevitable problem. They needed more gold, and quickly. Transporting tons of the precious to Nibiru was proving successful, but their workforce couldn't keep up with increasing demand. That's when they turned their attention to Earth's native inhabitants. Humanoids, our early ancestors, had already demonstrated some skill with tools and survival instincts, but they lacked the intelligence and physical capability for the grueling work required in the mines. One of the Anunnaki leaders, Enki, proposed an audacious solution: a genetic hybrid. By combining the DNA of the Anunnaki with that of early humans, they could create a new species, one more intelligent, more physically capable, and, crucially, easier to control. However, the road to success was fraught with challenges. The first experiments were disastrous, resulting in grotesque mutations in creatures that seemed to echo the monsters of myth and legend: cyclopes, disfigured giants, and other monstrous beings described in ancient stories. These beings were deemed failures and, according to some interpretations, destroyed or abandoned. Desperate for a breakthrough, the Anunnaki decided to take a more direct approach. They used one of their own women as a surrogate, implanting a fertilized egg with a carefully engineered genetic mix. This time, the experiment succeeded. The child that was born was named Adamu, a name that many believe to be the origin of the biblical Adam. This hybrid creation was celebrated as a turning point. The phrase "created in their own image," found in Sumerian, Babylonian, and Akkadian texts, bears striking similarities to religious narratives from around the world. From the Bible's Genesis to countless creation myths, the parallels are hard to ignore. Could these stories be fragmented memories of the Anunnaki's intervention in human development? Adamu and those who followed were sent to work in the mines, fulfilling the Anunnaki's grand plan. Yet this act of creation was more than just a utilitarian solution. It was the beginning of a complex relationship between humanity and its creators, a relationship that may still hold mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The developmental leap. Suddenly, humans changed from being just apes living in groups in caves, not only mentally but visually. This sudden leap in our evolution was so abrupt that it raises doubt, especially since we know that everything in nature happens super slowly. But there is something else. In the book Humans Are Not From the Earth, a few interesting facts mentioned, such as we are not well adapted to the conditions of the Earth, whereas all animals. The author of the book asks the following question: why have we lost the fur on our body, since it helps us against the harmful rays of the sun all over the planet? Without it, as we well know, we are exposed to burns and more severe consequences. Our ancestors were covered with fur liberally everywhere, and for good reason. In a very short period of time, people changed abruptly and began to reproduce more rapidly. The Anunnaki taught their human creations how to make a house and agriculture. They taught them culture, but did not forget to send them into the gold mines for hundreds of years. Humans worked for the Anunnaki and obeyed everything they said. They were intelligent enough for mining, but not advanced enough to resist. At some point, however, that changed. The Anunnaki of the land began to have secret relationships with human women, and so more advanced humans emerged who had self-awareness and other feelings common to humans today. Thus, several generations passed, and these more advanced humans became dominant. They were more intelligent, but also more violent. They multiplied an awful lot and started making trouble to reduce their population. Enki sent several disasters: drought, disease, insects, the rest of the biblical punishments. But at some point, he drove most of the people out of their colonial city, and so our ancestors drifted across the planet. As humans flourished, building cities with knowledge passed down by the Anunnaki, a new light appeared in the sky. While humans marveled at its mystery, the Anunnaki recognized it as their home planet Nibiru, nearing Earth in its long orbit. Having gathered the gold they needed to stabilize their planet, the Anunnaki prepared to leave. They knew the approach would wreak havoc on Earth, but they abandoned their creation to its fate. As they departed, chaos unfolded. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis ravaged the planet. Nibiru's gravitational pull caused oceans to swell, culminating in a colossal flood that swept across the Earth. This, many believe, is the origin of the Great Flood, a tale echoed in countless myths, including the Bible. Yet not all the Anunnaki were willing to let humanity perish. Some intervened, instructing a man named Utnapishtim to build a vessel and save seeds, animals, and life itself. Utnapishtim's story, found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, predates Noah's tale by millennia, suggesting a shared memory of a cataclysm. When the floodwaters receded, humanity began anew, forever shaped by the Anunnaki's legacy. Did they truly leave, or are they still watching? The echoes of their story continue to stir questions we have yet to answer. It's astonishing how cultures across the globe share eerily similar flood stories. In Hindu mythology, the god Vishnu, as a fish, warns Manu of an impending deluge. Manu builds a ship, saving his family and the seeds of all plants. The Chinese speak of a catastrophic flood that shaped the earth. Polynesian legends recount Nu, a hero who escapes the waters in a massive canoe, taking animals with him. In Greek mythology, Zeus sends a flood to destroy humanity, sparing only Deucalion and Pyrrha, who survive in an ark and rebuild civilization. The parallels are uncanny. In every tale, gods descend, create humans, destroy them through a flood, and guide the survivors toward a new beginning. Could these stories be fragmented memories of the same event? Too many coincidences, don't you think? After the Great Flood, humanity faced a restart. Knowledge and advancements from the earlier era were lost, washed away in the destruction. Civilization had to begin anew. The Anunnaki, particularly Enlil and Enki, observed humanity's resilience and decided to intervene. They taught mathematics, engineering, and the foundations of culture and science, leaving a legacy that shaped our future before departing the Earth. According to Sumerian cuneiform calculations, the next passage of Nibiru near Earth is predicted to be around the year 2900. By then, we may have advanced enough to confirm if such a planet exists. The question remains, will the Anunnaki return? We would love to hear your answers in the comments. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again. Thanks for watching.